Israel and the Galilee, please do not post in the chat until I get my posts up at the top, which is not going to take long, 1 or 2 minutes. Please refrain from posting in the chat until I get my posts up. Now, I gotta figure out what I did wrong here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I'm gonna get out of this somehow. Okay, I got out of that. Give me a second, please. Don't post in the chat for a minute. Got sound and picture. Don't post in the chat for a minute, please, so I can get my posts up. Thank you. Almost there, guys. Just give me another minute here to get my posting up there. Okay, I got my posts up. Feel free to post in the chat if you want to. Okay, so today is the 11th of April. It's 9:05 in the morning, and we have a minor chance of rain today. Let me see. It's so much rain. Let's see what the bird trying to come in the house. No, I think they've reduced their threat of rain down to 10%, which is meaningless. It's always something like that. So we'll probably not have rain today. It's only 62 degrees now, but we will hit 75. It's going to be partially cloudy, basically. Tomorrow will be at 75, and then the temperature is going to creep up, but it still gets cold at night in the 50s, so it'll stay warm. But they are telling us next week, in Wednesday, we're going to have 91 degrees, which is very unseasonable, but then it drops way down. Hopefully we don't get rain anymore. I mean, I keep saying that, but, I'm not running the Garden of Israel, so I don't know what the Lord's up to with the gardening, but it seems like a jubilee with all this rain. Okay, so the war threat between America and Israel against Iran is quite real. Quite real. Okay? Now, Biden, so what I'm going to do is give you the current events, the news, what's going on with the war with America, Israel, and Iran, and the Houthis, and the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Gaza situation, and give you the Bible prophecies that will have some pertinence to this, what to look for in Bible prophecy as we get closer and closer to Zechariah 12 and Jeremiah 30:11. Okay. Zechariah 12 is the next so-called war on Israel. It's Jacob's trouble. And contained within Jacob's trouble in Jeremiah 30, we read that God says he will destroy all the nations he dispersed the Israelites into. And this would be over 100 nations. And it's also found in Jeremiah 46, verse 28, almost exactly the same. So it's in two places, and you should take that extremely seriously because it's associated with the birth pangs and the birth of a nation in a day, which is certainly not 1948. Okay. The birth of the nation in a day begins with the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man in the clouds. And it ends, well, that begins the second 70 of Daniel 9:24, and it ends in, it doesn't say 70 weeks. In every single Hebrew manuscript I ever saw, which is quite a few, it says Shavim, Shavim, 70, 70. Every English translation is messing with you with that one, except one, Smith's literal translation. And that was done by a woman, I think, in the 1800s who self-published it. No, no publishing house is going to publish a Bible that contradicts the church doctrines across the board, because who's going to buy it? Okay. So the starting point, which I'll give you fast, is basically about a week or 10 days ago, something like that. We hit the consulate that Iran has in Syria because there were generals there that were running the wars against Israel in efforts to supply Lebanon with missiles via Syria. They go Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon. And also there were groups shooting missiles at Israel, generally hitting nothing but open air and the open space in the Golan Heights, but these characters were running it. So Israel did a targeted assassination. Iran went crazy. We're going to get you. We're going to get you. Okay. So before we get started, let me explain something to you. Iran is not one of the big powers in the world. They lack an air force. They've got junky planes that are not uniform. They're in disrepair. They don't have parts. They can't possibly have great pilots because they don't have great planes. They're old Cold War era, a lot of them. They're not good, okay? They don't have an Air Force to speak of. They don't have a Navy to speak of. They have maybe 2 or 3 reasonable warships, maybe 4, maximum, I would say. And I don't think they're that good. They do stupid things. They take cargo vessels and put missile launchers on the deck of them. They have go-fast boats, which are boats that are, I guess 60 to 80 feet long, and they put a 50 cal machine gun on it. They carry shoulder-fired rockets. They might have torpedoes that they launch off the deck of the boat, like a World War II PT boat. So the way you aim it is you point the boat at your target, and then you push the button and it throws the torpedo off the deck into the water, and it goes towards the target, which is, you're talking technology that's, 75, 85 years old. So they are nothing like a world power. Forget it, okay? Get it out of your head, okay? The big threats to America in terms of large, powerful military would be China, and to a much lesser degree, Russia. And China and India have a big problem. India has a military probably about what China has. And India has a population like China. And Modi can be a very aggressive, cruel warrior. He runs India. If China goes into Taiwan and tangles with Taiwan and Japan and the United States, and North Korea messes with South Korea, China is going to be very concerned. And they're going to want to keep the bulk of their troops in the war theater and protecting the borders of China. Okay? China is not going to send anything resembling an army into the Middle East. Okay? It's too far away from them. They're not set up that well to operate far away. And they've got problems over there with the Philippines, with Australia, with Guam, with Taiwan, with Japan, with South Korea. Okay? You're not going to see China get into this fight. They may do some tokenism with Iran because they have a treaty with them, like supply some kind of weapons or advisors to use the weapons or, things like this. Are they going to send 75 fighter jets and bombers over here to help Iran with the war? You're not going to see that. Is Russia going to do that? You're not going to see that. Not right now. Okay? Now, as I've explained to you in the past, you have countries that are waiting to destroy the daughter of Babylon, which is America. That's found in Jeremiah 50:51 and Isaiah 47 predominantly. Okay? And no halfway serious Bible student would ever deny that it's not America. Would deny it's America. It's America. It's pretty universal. So, we need to remember this. In Jeremiah 50, verse 24, I'll read it to you. I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babel, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord. Well, I'd be wasting your time to sit here and tell you how the United States has striven against the Lord. I mean, it's be a list, 3-4 feet long, so, or longer. So, and this is part of the snare of the Middle East. Okay, Biden has to worry about the problem with South Korea being attacked by North Korea, Taiwan being attacked by China, and then Japan and China having it out, and then Australia getting into it, and they have a big base in Guam that could be attacked, and China wants to use the Philippines, and America's got Navy ships there, and they want to use the Philippines. The Philippines could be relatively strategic in such a war. So, that's one piece of the snare. The second piece of the snare is Russia and Ukraine. And that war is, 2 years now, and it's causing America and NATO allies to just dump all their surplus and excess weapons into Ukraine. And they keep getting consumed, and they need more all the time. Plus, they're spending many, many billions of dollars giving Ukraine these weapons. And Ukraine has lost some territory to Russia and managed to hang on reasonably well, considering. Okay? It's very important to note that Russia has gotten missiles, I think 400 missiles from Iran, and a massive amount of drones from Iran to use against Ukraine. You also need to understand that the Russian air defense systems are not very good at all, because Ukraine flies helicopters into Russian territory, not the occupied part of Ukraine, Russia, and they attack buildings in Moscow, St. Petersburg, whatever, with drones, and missiles go in and everything. So we know the Russian air defense systems are not crackerjack at all. They're second tier. The Iranian air defense systems are absolutely no better than Russia, and they're most likely worse. Okay? Iran, like Hezbollah, like Hamas, like the Houthis, is a big mouth. And they lie. And they say things that aren't true. And they take a missile, or what looks like a missile, you don't even know if it flies. You know, it could be a water main all painted up with fins, and they put it on a truck. And they do a parade, and they say, this missile can go break the firmament, go through the liquid, go up to Venus, turn around at Venus, come back, break through the firmament a second time, and none of the water is going to come plunging down on the earth like Noah's flood, of course, and then come down at a tremendous speed of Mach 900 or something, you know, they don't say that, but maybe Mach 15, and land on a country within a precision, you know, 10 meters and blow the target up with a warhead of 2,000 pounds or something. You know, you can't listen to this. It's nonsense. They're trying to scare people from attacking them because they're so contrary to all people. Okay? That's it. All right? So, God says that he's going to ease himself of all his enemies and get rid of them. And Israel's enemies are his enemies. He has a controversy with the nations over Zion. Iran doesn't want Israel to exist. So they're going to be destroyed. And we're in the year of recompenses, which started on or around August 1st, give or take 2 or 3 days. I forgot the precision date, exact date. And they're going to get it. Now, they do emerge in Gog and Magog, Jeremiah 50, I'm sorry, Ezekiel 38 and 39. It says that Persia is in the attack. Well, Iran is not Persia. Don't sit there and say, oh, it's Persia. Persia means the Persian Empire. And Iran is just a tiny little piece of the Persian Empire. So Iran is sort of you know, like an anomaly or something. It just kind of popped up. They had their revolution in 79, and, you know, they just kind of popped up, and they're trying to be they want to emerge as the caliphate with their religious / political leader as the caliph, and have the other Muslim countries come sit under them and join in with them because their leadership and everything is so great. Well, it's not. Their economy is so bad, it's pathetic. Their Iranian rial, their currency, I think it's either high 5 digits or 6 digits to $1. It's a joke. Their Iranian rial is probably worth a small fraction of the United States penny. They're totalitarian, brutal dictators under the name of Islam. Okay? And they have lots of enemies within their own country. They're well hated from within and without. Okay? Who hates them? The Saudis, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, maybe. They're not popular people. All right. So Blinken said, well, Biden said our, you know, commitment to stand with Israel is ironclad. I repeat, ironclad. And he doesn't specifically say what he's going to do. But Blinken came out and started opening up Pandora's box, if you will. He said that we'll help Israel every way we can. At one point, he said, we'll try to shoot missiles down if they fire missiles towards Israel. We'll try to shoot them down from. Do I believe him? Yeah, because they've done that in the Red Sea. I absolutely believe that to be true. And they said that they have not ruled out attacking Iran with Israel. Do I believe that? Yeah. I think this time is real, and I'm going to give you my evidence for it. And he also said they would help Israel against the proxies. So, as we all know, the war against Lebanon, the big attack from Israel, has not yet started. And it could be because they're negotiating with America here. See, America, now Biden is standing for election. I don't believe prophetically time's going to allow for another election in America, but he doesn't know that. So Biden, is worried about Trump. Okay? Now, some people say he's the one behind getting Trump arrested and having him in criminal and civil cases and all of this stuff. Well, so far he hasn't stopped Trump. It's a reasonably logical assumption that Biden doesn't have much chance against Trump. And I believe Biden opened up the borders to let the illegals come in, and they walk for an hour or 2 or 3, and then they show up at a border post with the ICE people, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and they have paperwork they already filled out in Mexico, or they fill it out there, and they apply for amnesty. They get something stamped. Boom, you're in the system. Your court dates, now I understand they're around 2032. So now you're legal until then. Now we're finding they can buy guns, they could work as policemen, and there's bills in the Congress to let them vote. Now, when Biden first came into office, he signed, I believe, an executive order that if the states want to let people such as this vote in a presidential election, so be it, they can. So he's basically saying whoever the states want to let vote is fine with us. And there's bills to formally get these people to be able to vote. Now, the high figure on the illegals is someplace north of 12 million. The low figure is probably 7 or 8. So it's in there someplace. Let's say it's 10, just to compromise. Well, 70% of military age males. Everybody says that. So you got 7 million to maybe 8.5 million military age males already invaded into the United States. It's easy to get guns. It's easy to build missiles, rockets, and mortars. They've got lots of money. You know, it's already there. Now, Biden didn't do this to overthrow the United States. If that was his goal, he wouldn't give a hoot about the election with Trump, which he cares about tremendously. Trump just keeps bouncing back. He can't get rid of Trump. Trump's not going anywhere. Trump's there to stay. So he's planning on defeating Trump. Now, let's talk about the Houthis. The Houthis, to support Gaza, the Hamas in Gaza, decided to close the Red Sea until Israel stops attacking Hamas, so Hamas can survive and rebuild and kill Israel a couple of weeks down the road. That's all it would take them, maybe 2 weeks, a month. It didn't work. America and the UK went down there and started bombing them. They made a lot of bombing runs. It didn't deter them. It's common knowledge Iran had a warship, what they refer to as a intelligence ship. So it had a lot of radar and antennas to pick up all kinds of signals and communications and whatever. And they were using it there to target vessels in the Red Sea with their good radar, because the Americans and the Brits blew the radar up that the Houthis had on land. Because these are big, you know, half-domed items that spin around, and they could be 60, 100 feet in diameter. You can't hide them. You can't put radar under the ground. So they blew their radar up. So the Iranians are using that ship with their radar. So they isolate the target they want to attack. And they attacked yesterday, I think, 4 ships, by the way. So they haven't stopped. So they give the coordinates to the Houthis, and they aim their missiles and take their best shot. Now, they don't have what's called ballistic missiles, which is missiles that can be, the path of the missile could be modified in flight to hit the target. They don't have that. So they mostly miss. Most of their missiles probably, at least 90-95% of them either miss the target or get taken down by American warships using a counter missile or another country's warships. So they don't hold up. But it's still deterring ships from traveling through the Red Sea. Who wants to take a chance? They have sunk ships. They have caused fires on ships. They have caused casualties and stuff. Nobody wants to take a chance. Would you? Okay. This is a real problem for Biden and the UK and India and other countries. They're really mad about this. So Biden and the UK tried bombing them repeatedly. It didn't work. And I'm sure the Pentagon told them the only way we're going to get them shut down is to do a ground invasion. Now, we could attack that Iranian warship that's doing the targeting. Now, it's thought that when the Houthis launch a drone, the Iranian warship takes control of the drone and guides it to target. And it's still not working out very well. So they're not attacking that Iranian warship at this point in time. Israel might. How hard would it be for Israel to attack an Iranian warship in the Red Sea? Well, it would be about as hard as you buying a frozen pizza and putting it in the oven and setting it for 20 minutes and coming back and taking it out of the oven. It'd be about that hard. They have nothing that's going to defend against our F-35s. Nothing. Okay? Just hit them with 2 or 3 missiles, ground to air, air to ground missiles, and that's it. The ship will be dead in the water, burning, and eventually sink. Nobody did it yet. I did use the word yet. And Iran is bringing missiles into Yemen for the Houthis, and nobody's really interdicting these shipments. Now, Israel has approximately 100 F-15s and F-16s that have large fuel tank capability. So they can actually fly to Iran, fire ordnance, drop bombs, turn around and come home. The problem here is this. When you carry these extra fuel tanks, your missiles and bomb capacity is reduced a lot due to weight. The other way to do it is just use normal fuel tanks, carry large bombs, lots of missiles, and use tanker refueling aircraft, of which we have several. I think we probably have maybe 8 or 9, more than we need. Okay? So probably somewhere in a safe airspace just before they hit the Persian Gulf, they would refuel. Some of our F-16s have stealth capability. They have the same outer fuselage as an F-35. And in addition, we have our F-35s, which are full stealth, and Iran can't stop those. All right. So anything we did in Iran would have to be precision. The crazy thing is, if somebody stands up to Iran and tells that Iranian warship, leave, if you're here in 6 hours, we're going to sink you, and then sink it, the Houthis shutting the Red Sea would fall apart. Why don't they do it? They're afraid. Biden is so scared to do anything. Okay? China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran want to see America spread out militaristically, fighting on several different fronts, and then destroy America so they feel they could run the world, probably through BRICS or something like that. Okay? Now, if China gets involved in the Pacific, India is going to hit China and take back some of that land China took about 2 years ago from them in the Himalaya Mountains, 14,000 feet up. And China built military bunkers and bases up there. So India would hit that and take that back. Also, Pakistan is an ally of India. And Pakistan and India have very bad blood. And China likes Pakistan. So if China's involved in fighting in the Pacific, it would be North Korea against South Korea, which would flow over to them. Japan would be attacking China over Taiwan, so they'd have China would be against Japan and Taiwan, plus the American military base in South Korea, which used to be 28,000 soldiers. It might be bigger now. And there's a bunch of Navy warships there from America. And then there comes the Philippines and Guam, and so China is not going to want to take on the likes of India while they're in trouble on the Pacific. So India could probably get the Chinese forces there to surrender or just blow them up. And China would probably do not much of anything about it. Whether or not India would want to go after Pakistan next, I don't know, but I suspect that something like this would not escape Modi's eye, because he could probably take out Pakistan, but it would be a big price. But he could incorporate them into India or something like that. And then China's influence in the area is diminished. So he is afraid of China. He's not a fan of communism. He's a Hindu. So that's a problem that China has. A bad problem. But not the end of the world, because they could let Pakistan go and that little piece of land in the Himalaya Mountains and just be peachy fine without it. So they can let it go. All of Europe is getting ready for Jeremiah 30:11, where God says he's going to destroy all the nations he dispersed the Israelites into, which is every single European nation, bar none, every single one. So they don't know they're doing this, but they are. They're doing military exercises, pacts, alliances, treaties, mutual defense treaties, and they're building up their weapons supply and their military by the hour. By the hour. the leaders of NATO and the EU are all talking about war imminent with Russia. So, for all these nations to be destroyed, you have to understand that you need a lot of modern weapons, and they're all building up their modern weapons. And that's going to help destroy all the nations that he scattered the Israelites into. Now, Iran giving weapons to Russia is against the grain of the whole European Union and NATO and America, because it makes life harder for them. It drags out the Ukraine war. And they have a bad axe to grind with Iran over that. They have a bad axe to grind with Iran over closing the Red Sea. And mind you, the Houthis already cut some internet cables and made communications between, I think it's Africa and Asia, quite poor over the internet, and they can cut more. So they are quite concerned over that. And the reason for the Houthis getting this far is strictly Iran. That's it. So Biden has to look good election year. He can't get Israel to do much about the war in Gaza. So he told Israel that he wants Israel to get more humanitarian aid in. That's happened big time. Okay? And they want Israel to diminish the number of civilian casualties. And what we heard Blinken say the other day, a day or two ago, was that Israel's not committing genocide. Now, what Israel does do is when they want to get a targeted assassination against the leader of Hamas, they frequently wait for him to go to his house. And in his house, he could have, anywhere from 6 to 40 people. Counting his children, his wives, they can take up to 4 wives. And servants, friends, whatever. These are big houses, mansions in Gaza. Yeah, you heard me right. So they blow it up and they kill the guy and his family. Well, that's part of the deterrent value. And that's also frequently the only way we can get this high value target is to blow him up in his house. And he's trying to use his family as a human shield to prevent us from doing it. And we do it anyway. And then the crazy terrorist leaders run around calling it martyrdom and everybody's going to heaven and all this kind of stuff. But we keep doing it. And they don't like it. I'm going to take a quick break. Be right back. And that causes civilian casualties. So now all of a sudden Blinken is looking the other way, and on a daily basis we're blowing up these Hamas leaders and their families, and now all of a sudden it's not genocide, it's being ignored. So Biden has realized that he can't persuade Israel to do what he wants. Israel has great political analysts in America that understand all the pressures on Biden. And they're using it. Now I even heard, I don't know how true it is, that America knew Israel was going to attack the Iranian consulate in Damascus area. I'm checking the chat real quick here. I don't know who's digging under New York or why. I don't know. Hey, Finland. Don't get a lot of people from Finland here. Okay, I threw the garbage out of the chat. So Biden's doing a reversal. But remember, Biden's with Satan, okay? And all the nations in the world are run by Satan now, every single one. And he's working towards a two-state solution where Israel doesn't have the West Bank and Israel doesn't have control of East Jerusalem where the temple will go. And that's a real bottom line motive, but now it could have switched to a back burner one because of the election. So Biden is to date doing a terrible job in the Middle East. People are screaming genocide, and Israel, they want the war stopped. Biden can't get it to stop. He got Israel to bring more trucks in with aid, lots more, big time. All right. He got Israel to let them build a pier in Gaza so they could directly bring aid in, which is going to involve soldiers, believe me, American soldiers, or an international peacekeeping force to protect the food going to Gaza. Protected from who? From Hamas. Hamas is stealing the food from the Gazan people and trying to get Israel to be blamed for it. And we have videos of them doing it, shooting people, hitting them, clubbing them, stealing. It's a joke. Now, Biden doesn't want to see the attack in the Rafah area of Gaza because that'll be the end of Hamas and they will never be able to rebuild. He doesn't want to see Israel keep troops in there indefinitely to prevent Hamas from being rebuilt, which means he wants Hamas to rebuild missiles, guns, weapons, and keep attacking Israel. Biden is doing nothing to stop Egypt from the smuggling of weapons into Gaza. So they're very complicit in the Gaza war. And they will pay a price for that. Now, Israel can build walls that go under the earth and stop the tunnels and stuff from coming in, which I imagine will do. Biden doesn't want us to build the buffer zone in Gaza, but we will. It'll be a half a kilometer wide all the way up the southern area of Gaza, the eastern and the northern. The west is just the Mediterranean. So that will help curtail smuggling by tunnel, because they'll have to make the tunnel go further than a half a kilometer. Now, they could easily make that buffer zone by Egypt, by the Egypt border, 2 kilometers if they want to. And it makes it easier to control the tunnels. So Israel's definitely going to stop that. No weapons coming in from Egypt. So now Biden does a flip-flop. All of a sudden, we're not doing genocide, and all of a sudden, we're letting more humanitarian aid in, and they're happy. And now they're going to stand with us against Iran. Are they? Probably. Biden needs to come out looking good. You see, the Red Sea thing is a problem to many countries. America right there. And America feels responsible because they've been giving Israel arms, and the Houthis are rising up over the Gaza war. And, it's in a loudly spoken but still secret thing. What they're trying to do is keep Hamas going so they can keep continuing to attack Israel in the future. Nobody in mainstream media really wants to talk about that. And they want a 2-state solution with a Palestinian state in the West Bank, so they could turn that into another Gaza and could attack us from there also. Okay? So I think the ball is in Iran's court. If Iran goes through with an attack against Israel, something's going to happen to Iran. They already attacked American military base in Syria as retaliation for the attack on their consulate in Damascus. So America has already started to pay a price for this. So if Biden can clean the Middle East up before the election, it'll go over very big with him. And how do you do that? Number one, you have Israel let massive amounts of humanitarian aid in, which they're doing. Number two, stop the killing of civilians as much as possible. Israel's doing that to some extent. And they want us to stop hitting the Rafah crossing, but that's over with. That'll happen. And then after, there'll be plenty of humanitarian aid and some new monkey government set up there. There won't be Hamas or any terrorist group. There won't be the Palestinian Authority. We're not going to do that. And Israeli troops will remain there for a while. Israel plans on resettling in Gaza. Based on Bible prophecy, they will. But it's not going to come about as a result of the Israeli Defense Forces' efforts in Gaza. It's not going to be from that. It'll be from the two witnesses getting rid of them. But moving along, that's pretty much what's going to happen there. The Houthis aren't stopping attacking ships. And this is and the internet cables, which can be magnified to hit more internet cables, and that's also the SWIFT money transfer system internationally will go down, and they don't want that. But they don't want a ground invasion in Yemen. Why? It'd probably take 250 aircraft, 4 or 5 warships, and a large amount of soldiers, maybe over 100,000. And it'd be a big campaign costing trillions of dollars. And why do it? Because Lebanon, Hamas, the militias in Syria and Iraq that are backed by Iran, and Iran are still running Houthis. So it's a bad strategy to go into Yemen because you're going to have a big commitment with little reward. And then as America gets more entrenched in the war, they still have to deal with Iran. So if you cut the head off the octopus, the tentacles just go limp. The head of the octopus is Iran. The tentacles are their backed militia groups in Iraq and Syria, the Houthis in Yemen, Hamas and PIJ in Gaza, and Hezbollah that's in Lebanon and also in Syria. You get rid of them by getting rid of Iran. Iran gives them money and weapons. So it makes the most sense to hit Iran. It's not going to do Biden a lot of good in the election if Iran just gets around demolishing Israel, which isn't going to happen. And America for years runs around saying Israel's their best ally. Israel's the only democracy in the United States, in the Middle East, and we stand with Israel and all this stuff, and then you just sit back and let Iran do what they want. Well, that's not going to help him in the election, and he finally figured that out. So the way they plan on shutting down the Middle East and making Biden look good is to attack Iran. Now, before America attacks Iran, they're going to wait for Iran to attack Israel. And then they're going to go in under the cover story of, whoa, it's our ally. We have to defend them. We have treaties with Israel. Now, Israel is in NATO in a limited way. Okay? Israel can be called upon to defend NATO nations, but NATO nations have no obligation to defend Israel, but they can if they want to. Now, let me tell you about the warships that left America in the last 48 hours or so. This is an eye opener. I put it up on Telegram. Now, this speaks volumes because it shows us what America is really doing, not just the words they're talking, which they lie too, you know. Last night, Biden had a press conference. Iran is threatening to launch a significant attack on Israel. But as I told Prime Minister Netanyahu, our commitment to Israel's security against these threats from Iran and its proxies is an ironclad commitment. Let me say that again, ironclad. Okay. The Israeli Air Force has been conducting air attack drills with Cyprus in recent days. I don't know what that would have to do with Iran, but they could have been practicing the, flying far away from Israel, running ops, I guess. Russia just issued a warning to its people not to travel to the Middle East and emphasized Lebanon, Israel, and Syria. Obviously, threat of war. I'm going to give you the names of the warships and everything, okay? The USS Washington, a Virginia-class attack submarine, left Maryland on the 10th, April 10th, yesterday. Okay. Now, when ships leave the East Coast of America, warships, and there's a big threat of war, we can assume with reasonable safety they're going to the Middle East. The USS George Washington Nimitz-class aircraft carrier left Norfolk, Virginia, April 10th, yesterday. Now, this is not anything lightweight. This is an aircraft carrier, a real aircraft carrier. And this thing would probably have between 4 and 6 escort vessels, missile cruisers, and destroyers with it. Plus, they don't tell you, at least 1 or 2 submarines, too. And it left Norfolk, and I would assume it's not going to England. I would assume it's coming to the Middle East. The USS Harry S. Truman Nimitz-class aircraft carrier left Norfolk, Virginia on April 10th. So we got the Harry Truman aircraft carrier and the George Washington aircraft carrier leaving Norfolk, Virginia on the same day. Oh, do you think that's normal for 2 big aircraft carrier groups to leave Norfolk, Virginia on the same day? The same day America says they have an ironclad commitment to help Israel. The same day. And Blinken says we may help Israel fight Iran. Are we going to call this coincidence? Not me. Gets better, wait. Now, if you go to my Twitter, you'll even not only see the names of the ships, you'll see pictures of them leaving. Stills, I think, not videos. The UK sent several warships out of England on the 9th and the 10th. I can't remember. I think it was the 10th. Might have been the 9th. And I don't know where they're headed, but a likely guess is the Middle East. As a guess. And there's been a lot, and I'm telling you, a lot of American warship activity departing from San Diego and the west coast of America, and they would presumably be going to the Pacific region, Taiwan, Japan, South, North Korea, because America's probably getting, I didn't see any aircraft carriers, not that caliber of ship, but they went. Also, some amphibious troop carriers have been deployed. Now, an amphibious troop carrier is often called a small aircraft carrier because it carries vertical takeoff jets and helicopters, and it carries 1,500 Expeditionary Force Marines and some tanks and armored personnel carriers and artillery and missile launchers and all that stuff. And I'm going to try to find the link here to show you where those were coming out of. I'll get that in a second for you. Hang on. So on April 10th, the USS Washington, which is a Virginia-class attack submarine, also left Maryland. The USS Tulsa, a littoral combat ship, left San Diego. That would be going to the Pacific. The USS Oak Hill, which is a ferry-class dock landing ship, left North Carolina. The USS Fort Lauderdale, a San Antonio class amphibious transport dock, left Norfolk, Virginia on April 8th. On April 8th, an Arleigh Burke missile cruiser, or missile destroyer, I should say, called the USS Bainbridge, left Norfolk on the 8th. So, if I'm reading this correctly, the amount of aircraft carriers in the Middle East in the next few days is going to be up to 3 from 1. Now, normally, I think with fighting Iran, they would want to have four or five or something like that, but they can't deploy that many here because they have so many problems in the Pacific and Europe. So I think they'll do it with 3. I think you'll have an aircraft carrier group staying in the Red Sea, and I think you'll have one in the Mediterranean off the coast of Israel near Lebanon, and you'll have one in the Persian Gulf. Now they come with destroyers and missile cruisers with a minimum of probably 2 destroyers and 2 missile cruisers each aircraft carrier, but since it's a hot zone, it could be as high as 4 of each. So you're going to have quite a few. You're going to have at least, another 8 destroyers and missile cruisers here, you know, and it could be, much higher, you know, it could be another 12 or, more with them. Now, I haven't picked up reports of B-1 bombers and B-52s being deployed over in the region, but they're probably already here from the past. There's been a lot of military assets in the region. America has 58,000 soldiers in a combination of these countries: Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Oman, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan. So it's going to be very difficult for us to pick this up. But the guys that track the airplanes are probably going to report on it. I'll check that later today, and they're probably going to be showing a large amount of cargo planes, which can also transport troops, being moved into the region. Now, Iran is, aside from being boisterous and having a big mouth and lying, they're not smart. Don't think they're that smart. They're not that smart. They're rather stupid, and they have to control their agenda to match the Sharia law and Mohammedanism. They're not real smart. Okay? Now, the talk is Israel's going to hit the nuclear facilities. I don't know how. Their facilities go down 300 feet. I don't see what Israel's going to hit them with. A 5,000-pound bomb isn't going to do it. I don't know what they're going to hit them with. I don't think they're going to do that. The targets that would be the primary targets in Iran for America and Israel by air, by missile, bomb, or whatever, would be their radar, their air defense missile batteries. And that would go first, and that would take a few hours. They wouldn't necessarily take them down all over the country. They would take them down in the areas they wanted to work in. They would make corridors so they'd be free of missile fire and gunfire at their ships. Now, you could still have gunfire without radar, and they could actually occasionally get lucky and hit a plane, but it would be pretty rare to see that happen. Probably never happen. Once the radar and the missile defenses are taken out, they might have to take some of Iran's ships out because they might have missile defense systems on the ships they could deploy to protect Iran. But that protection would only apply if the ships flew over the Persian Gulf. If they came in from another place like Azerbaijan, for instance, the Iranian ships would be of no value. What's the end game? Is to beat Iran into compliance. Now, let's talk about how Iran operates. Because I live in the Middle East, and this is not my first war. Iran has to do something now. because the way they think, the Middle East mindset, is if they don't, it opens the door for Israel to keep attacking them. The reverse of this is the Americans never really responded seriously to the Iranian-backed militias in Iraq and Syria attacking their consulate, embassy, the Green Line, and their military bases. So they keep doing it. Okay. Again, if you want that to stop, hit Iran, the head of the octopus. That's just another tentacle that's going to fall off. When you take the head out, it'll just go limp. It won't do anything anymore. So America is finally getting the right idea, and possibly Netanyahu explained it to them in a way that they finally would listen. And that idea is you've got to take out Iran. I mean, now are they going to go for a total extinction of Iran? I don't know. I don't know. They might tell Iran they want to see Lebanon stop, the Houthis stop, Hamas stop, the militias in Iraq and Syria stop, and if that doesn't happen, the attacks keep going. This is a likely program. Their natural gas and oil refineries will get hit. Their piers, where they offload the energy into tanker ships, will get hit. Undoubtedly, some of their navy will get hit. I don't know what other targets they'll go after. Now, if Iran wants to stand up to them, the first thing that'll happen is the Houthis will shoot missiles into the Saudi Arabian oil refineries like Aramco and stuff, which they've done in the past. Now, this will probably cause at least one more aircraft carrier to come to the Middle East. Because America has to be fearful of oil price hikes. One way for that to happen, it's already on the way up. One way for that to happen is for Iran to shut the Red Sea. If you're China, or if you're Russia, or if you're Iran, you can pass your ships. If not, we'll do what the Houthis do and shoot missiles at you. Any little thing like that's going to cause oil to bump up a lot. So if Iran interferes with the Red Sea, interferes with the Persian Gulf, the Houthis keep it up in the Red Sea, Iran expands to the Gulf of Oman, or the Sea of Oman, which is right out the Red Sea, even into the Indian Ocean, and the Houthis also cut the internet cables. That leaves America, Europe, South America, Central America, parts of Asia, parts of Africa, the Middle East, pretty much, in a real mess. Maybe Biden, somebody might have explained it to Biden in a way that he could understand it, finally. But the most efficient way to shut down all this trouble in the Middle East is to go after Iran. And it looks like he will. If these aircraft carrier groups are chugging hard, they'll get here in a week. Now, what we got to be watching out for is America putting troops inside Israel. That is going to bring Zechariah 12. When you see that, and you will see it, I'll show you the prophecies. It's going to bring us extremely close to Zechariah 12. And I'll be right back and I'll show you those scriptures. I don't think America is bluffing about going after Iran. I think Biden finally realized the whole Middle East problem is due to Iran. And he needs to fix that. He can't sit back and let Israel get attacked by Iran and then Trump gets on TV. That's our greatest and best ally. That's the only democracy in the Middle East. This moron Biden is destroying that. He doesn't want that. Trump is actually, in pursuit of his own winning of the next election, become a good friend of Israel because it's a bad threat on Biden. Okay, I'm going through my notes to dig out these scriptures for you. Jeremiah 51:24, I will read. Whoops, where did it go? And I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, that's America, all their evil that they have done in Zion, in your sight, saith Jehovah. Okay. We're going to see America do bad things here. This temporary pier in Gaza is to land American troops in Gaza because that's not Israel. They don't have to get Israel's permission to just land there. Israel will say, we don't want you there. Hamas will say, we don't want you there, but they'll go anyway. And it'll be a peacekeeping, humanitarian aid thing. And then that'll stop Israel from attacking Gaza unless we attack America, which is not likely, but possible, but not likely. And Hamas will keep attacking Israel with missiles, even though the Americans are there. And the Americans would be very unlikely to fire at Hamas. So it would work against us and for Hamas, which is what Satan wants. Now, there's another scripture that gives us a sense of timing when this happens. I'm digging it up, but it's in my notes. I'll find it. Jeremiah 50, verse 44. Behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. But I will make them suddenly run away from her. And who is the chosen man that I may appoint over her, being Israel? For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time? And who is that shepherd that will stand before me? No. He's speaking of two witnesses. And possibly also Yeshua as the shepherd. Okay? So the two witnesses are active. Now, if you follow the church teachings, you're not going to know what the heck I'm talking about, even though I'm doing it out of the Bible. Because the church teachings have nothing to do with the Bible. this up for a minute. Hang on. I'll use the eSword search. The Jeremiah 50:44, by the way, it starts out, he shall come like a lion from the swelling of the Jordan unto the habitation of the strong. So, you see, that is the area, as I read it, where the Jordan River meets the Sea of Galilee. There's some kibbutzes over there. It's, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles from where I'm sitting right now. And it's probably no more than 3 or 4 miles from the Jordan border. So, trying to figure out what they're doing over there. Don't know. They could be trying to stop enemy troops from coming in from Jordan, or maybe they're protecting Jordan from Israel. I don't know what they're doing. But in Bible prophecy, they're going to have soldiers in Israel. And with the war with Iran, what a great opportunity for Biden to say, oh, we'll put a few thousand soldiers in Israel. I don't know how many. I really don't know. He put soldiers to protect the Muslim states near us, not protect us. He's more worried about them than us. And the soldiers are there to make sure we don't conquer them too. Don't forget that. Satan doesn't want to see Israel have any oil. Come on. Biden's loyalty and allegiance is to the unclean spirits, like all the world leaders, and Satan is not happy about the way things are going. The worst of the nations appears to be the daughter of Babylon, America. Will Iran target the heifers? Maybe, but I doubt it. That's a secondary thing. Could be, but I don't think so. The only way I can get South America in prophecy is Jeremiah 30:11. All the nations that he dispersed the Israelites into are going to be destroyed because they've been through every Central and South American nation. The Jews, the Israelites. I read the comments. I just can't read it while I'm talking, but I'm doing it now. I do it a few times during each broadcast. I don't know the scripture you're talking about of Saudi Arabia with oil fields burning over tar pit. I don't know such a scripture. Saudi Arabia is referred to as Arabia, and I think also Dedan. Okay, and I believe Edom is northwest Saudi Arabia. Is there somebody here from Cuba? I'm happy to see somebody from Cuba. You might be my first that I recall coming from Cuba, if that's where you're from. So if anybody has any questions, let's put them up in the chat. I'll check. I'm going to check my notes and see if I missed any points I wanted to bring out. So when you see American troops in Israel, and you will, everything is very close. Very, very close. America's in a snare and it ain't getting out of it. She's not called the daughter of Babylon for nothing. So we do read of Persia in the attack in Gog and Magog, but that's going to be around 60-something years from now. So it could be rebuilt. Now, bear in mind, Iran is not Persia. Persia is indicative of the Persian Empire, and it was huge. Iran is maybe an eighth or a 12th of the Persian Empire. Iran's not the Persian Empire, and Iran is going to get destroyed with all of the other God's enemies, okay? And it's the year of recompenses, and it's over about August 1st, so it ain't going to take much time. And 2 aircraft carriers leaving Virginia on the same day, plus other ships, on the same day? Nah, it's got to do with Iran. Iran's not that mighty. It's not going to be such a big job to take it out, believe me. A lot of the Muslims that are, anti-Israel get all psyched up over Iran because they believe what Iran tells them, but Iran ain't going to make it. They're going to be busted up. Their currency is so bad. If their God, who's not a real God, was with them, why is their currency so bad and their economy so bad? If their God, who's not a God, is so powerful, why do they have to defend the Allah's mosque? Why doesn't their God defend it? Good question, huh? Because their God ain't a God. That's why. And when Iran goes down, and it's going down, the whole Muslim world is going to, shrivel up because that's their big hero. That's their big hero is Iran. Oh yeah. They're gonna go kill Israel. Without America's help, Iran couldn't do anything to us. Of any substance. We just keep flying daily bombing raids over there, picking off targets until they quit. Now, being terrorists, they may not quit. So it might take a lot of bombing and attacks to, bring them down to size. But basically, if you take out their radar, then you take out their navy, then you take out as many airports as you could find. You take out their weapons factories, weapons storehouses. Then you could take out their refineries for natural gas and oil and their piers, and their economy will be, 4 or 5 times worse than what it was. And remember, China is the big threat to America. China gets the majority of their gas and oil from Iran at sweetheart low prices. So when you take out Iran, China has to wonder where it's going to get its energy from. And China and Russia are allies and all that, but don't think they get along so good. They don't. So Russia may not want to sell China gasoline at, half the market price or 60%. He may sell it to them at 80% or something like that, So don't think that, China just calls Putin up on the phone and said, well, I need this every month, Putin's got money problems too. He's not going to be very benevolent. Venezuela is an option they could exploit, but America could shut that down anytime they want to. Just put sanctions on Venezuela. So, it's difficult for them. It's difficult. Very difficult. And the end game here would be, I don't know if they'll achieve it. I think they'll just achieve destruction. The end game would be for America, a political end game, not Bible prophecy, would be the overthrow of the regime by revolutionary forces. So they would damage the economy, which would disgruntle the people in Iran tremendously, and cut their exports off, which are against the sanctions anyway, and whittle the military down to being nothing more than a bunch of Che Guevara's terrorists running around the streets with AK-47s, So let's watch for American troops to be placed in Israel. I'll keep watching for more warships to be deployed towards the area here in the Middle East. And we watch and we wait. It all comes. It all comes. Prophecy's going to come. Everything. You watch it. It's unfolding. It's unfolding. And things are going to happen really fast. The day of vengeance is a day. And the destruction of the nations and all that, could happen in the same day, on the same day. Jehovah is capable of doing things like this, contrary to what most believe. Okay. What about Psalms war? Psalms war, Psalm 83 is not a war. It's a prayer by a prophet named Asaph, and it doesn't match the countries in Gog and Magog anyway. So while it's there, I would tend to ignore it. I know some schmuck sold books to thousands of Christians that buy into it, but the countries don't line up with the Gog and Magog war at all. The next war is founded in Zechariah 12, which the church schmucks ignore. And you see the two witnesses getting the victory for Israel in Zechariah 12, verse 10 specifically, verse 6 specifically. And that's also where you find the appearing of the sign of Son of Man. And they ignore all this because they don't want you to know the truth. Read it yourself. What about Elam, which is where... Oh, Israel might attack their nuclear facilities, but I'm not so sure they're going to bother. It's difficult. You've got to carry massively huge bombs, and the distance from Israel to Iran is much, and that means that they'd have to sacrifice fuel for this bomb. But the biggest bomb Israel could manage is a 5,000-pound bomb. And that's not going to work on 300-foot deep underground caverns and facilities. It won't work. It's not enough. America has 25,000-pound bombs. That would work. So, when is this all going to go down? Well, today's Thursday in Israel. Friday night ends this 3-day Muslim holiday that comes after Ramadan called Eid, E-I-D, and then it has some Arabic word after that. I don't know what the heck it is. And it's over Friday night. And it's supposed to be a very festive time. So we don't know if Iran would attack over Eid. I doubt it, but they might. And Israel, I'm sure, has several target packages already lined up, programmed into the jets. The jets sitting there with the bombs and the missiles ready to go. If Iran does it, they'll have a very swift retaliation that'll be very painful. Remember, Iran is just a big mouth. Okay? They're always going to keep the vast amount of their troops home to protect their homeland from invasion and a takeover. That's what they're going to do. Hamas learned a nasty lesson. And that lesson is tunnels, underground bunkers, working out of hospitals, using ambulances for command cars isn't going to work without an Air Force and without a Navy. Same mistake Hezbollah's going to learn, and it's the same mistake Iran's going to learn. Watch. Why do you think the big, powerful nations in the world have air forces and navies? Because it works. That's why. If the answer was not to have a Navy, not to have an Air Force, just have 20 or 30 or 50,000 missiles, Israel would do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And remember, these missiles only work if you're fighting with your direct neighbor. Iran is not our direct neighbor. Okay? Even if they could launch from Iran, the flight time would be many minutes. And it would be far easier for us to engage an incoming missile or a drone when it's traveling for many minutes, it's easy to lock the arrow or the David sling onto it and shoot it down. You've got plenty of time. When you're talking about Gaza to Ashdod or Center Road or something like that, you got 15, 20 seconds. Big difference. So the shoot downs are pretty easy for us. America may have ships in the Persian Gulf. They usually have something there that could shoot down missiles coming out of Iran. But I really, really, really don't think the Iranians have any kind of realistic capability to hit Israel from within Iran. It's going to come from Syria, most likely. If not Syria, parts of Iraq close to Syria, but I'm not thinking Iraq. I'm thinking heavily coming from Syria, and they'll try to have the Hezbollah attack also and have the Houthis do what they can do. That's how I think it's going to develop. And Israel has woken up to the fact that it has to attack Iran on its own turf. That's the only way we're going to get them to stop, is make them pay on the home front. So, my name's Moshe. I have offering information up in the top of the chat. It's in the description box, and please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, and joy, and pray for our healing and our finances. And thanks to those that are giving the offerings, much appreciated. You're carrying it for the ones that don't like to give offerings. And pray for our animals and pets to be happy, healthy, and whole. They're all rescues. And pray for better videos, and pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I hope you got something out of this. Okay, guys, I'm out. 1 hour and 9 minutes. Not bad. Getting under 2 hours. Okay, I'm out.